And it's going to be a great convention. Dr. Gene Houston is going to be there, but this is a time also where you just get a chance to, if you've been thinking about going to Disney World, they got special hotel rates. It's not inexpensive to go, obviously, flying across the United States and that kind of stuff, but we would love to have some of you go with us. So if you want to have more information on it, we'll be going on the 16th to the 21st. There's that postcard out there, and I'll give you all the information we want. Okay? So that's at Orlando, Florida. Then, on the 2nd of December, we've got these cards out there. And Colette, would you stand up, please? Where's Colette? Yeah, you want to come up and tell us about this concert that's happening on the 2nd, which is a Monday. There you go.
So Richard and I decided we wanted to share our talents with the center. So I'm going to dance and he's going to juggle. Oh, that's another show, right? So Richard and I want to give back to the center. So we're going to do a benefit concert. We're going to do a lot of tunes that we love, a lot of Cole Porter that I love, a lot of Thelonious Monk that Richard loves, some Sondheim, and many, many more, including some holiday tunes. Also, we have a surprise guest. Okay, I'll let you know. Gerardo's going to be there. So Gerardo's going to come and we're going to sing a song. I won't tell you the title, I'll keep that a surprise. So Gerardo's going to come, and also another surprise guest is Rosalie's going to come. We're going to sing a duet, which I've always wanted to do with Rosalie, so I'm so excited. So it's going to be a wonderful holiday time to give gratitude and thanks, and I have a lot of gratitude for this center. It's made me look at myself a lot differently, and a lot more selfless with my family, and with my time, with my students at school. So it's just made me just really work on being more authentic. So, and Richard has greatly helped with that. So again, the date is December 2nd. It's a Monday night. You know, this guy gigs every Saturday night, so I can't get him to do a Saturday night with me. So we're doing a Monday night, so be there Monday night, December 2nd. 6 o'clock, we'll do a champagne reception, and then after that, we'll start the show at 7. About an hour, 20 minutes or so. So you'll get home, get to bed, get to work. Okay.
We're going to charge the tickets. It's here.
Oh, the charge of the tickets, $20, donation to the center. If you bring 5 or more guests, we're going to give you $5 off each. So the ticket would be $15. So please bring a lot of friends. And it's going to be here. It's going to be here. Thank you.
All right. Now, if there is anybody here who is not doing 40 Days of Gratitude, please let me know. I would love to include you. Right now we're on day 12 of 40 Days of Gratitude. The book's available. All you have to do is let me know. I wanted to mention yesterday, because it was especially true for me, when I got home I reread it again. And it says, as you rely on your inner wisdom and trust more, I find more trusting people in my life. And so it's just the thing I love about 40 Days of Gratitude is it brings you back to the center. It reminds you of the truth of who you are. And you keep doing this every day for 40 days. So if people are interested in participating in 40 Days of Gratitude and you're not doing it, I'd love to have you participate with us. We're already up to about 80 people. I'm getting emails from people I've never heard from across the United States. They're picking this up. So anyway, so that's 40 Days of Gratitude. The band is going to perform next week. Richard's getting ready. We've got Rebecca Jade next week. We got a special song that we've really been working on. The word for next week is going to be amazement, and we have a song called It Amazes Me. So please tell your friends and neighbors and everything, because we're going to have the band here next week. We also are going to have a huge celebration, Thanksgiving celebration that's coming up. And the only thing you need to sign up with Rosie and say, yes, I want to come. And it would be the perfect place to bring people next week, to bring people and just let them know. Just bring them in. We're going to have a great Thanksgiving celebration. And all you need to do is let Rosie know who's going to be coming so she can have it signed up so we know how much turkey to get and all of those kinds of things. So how many people are planning on being here next Sunday for the celebration? Okay, most of the people here are. So invite your friends, invite your neighbors, and we're going to have a really fabulous Celebrations, yes. Okay, right today is the floral class that's going on immediately after the service today with Anita Payton. So that will be in this sanctuary. So if you haven't signed up, you can still sign up. She would love to have you come to the floral service. And then Reverend Janet has started her singing, her singing, what is it called? Learning your, singing class. And the next one's going to be December 6th at 6:30 p.m. So if you're interested in singing, preparing for Christmas holidays, please see Reverend Janet. Would you stand up, Reverend Janet, so everyone can see you? That's Reverend Janet, and she thinks everyone can know how to sing. Thank you very much. Spiritual circles will be today. It's going to be in the practitioner room, or if not there, we'll find another place for it. So if anybody's interested in spiritual circles, we simply do treatment for you after the Sunday service. So I think we did it. I think we got through. So thank you so much for all.
Youth sign up.
Oh, that youth sign up. Thank you. I knew there was one last thing. There is a sign up sheet for youth. So to help build our youth church, if anybody here is interested in helping build youth, see Janet again, but there is a sign up sheet that will be on the book table. Yes.
Janet or myself.
Or Rosalie. Thank you, Rosalie. Okay. So I think we're there. Yes, Jackie.
I just want to make a quick announcement. I just want to really thank you for our GPA concert last night. It was awesome, and I really appreciate your support. Oh, One Heart, One Mind was there in presence, and even if you couldn't make it, the donations were great, and the concert was just beautiful. And
Thank you. Gerardo is here. Thank you, Gerardo. Hey, Gerardo. Does this mean you're coming on Sundays when you don't sing? Does that mean you might want to consider being a member or a participant with our center there?
I'm thinking about it, yes.
Great, okay, well, thank you so much.
You convince me more and more every day.
I want to see you more and more?
Yes.
Good. I always have Gisela in the front row saying, don't say that. But, you know, we've been married for how many years? She's been saying, don't say that for 47 years. So. A lot of influence there. Okay, and that's how come you have a happy marriage, and we want to talk about happiness. And the person who knows most about happiness, because everybody says that meets Gisela, saying that they think she's one of the happiest people in the world. And she's going to tell you how she does it. Let's welcome Dr. Gisela.
Well, I think there's something about the word happiness. You know, it has a certain happy ring to it, doesn't it? Happy. Kind of just is up. Anyway, Abraham Lincoln said, people are just about as happy as they make up their minds to be. So basically, it's an inside job. We have lots of things that we say will make us happy, and people oftentimes look to the material things. You know, if I had more money, I would be happier. If I had a bigger house or a newer car or more stuff, that might make me happier. But we know that everything in form changes. It'll never stay that way. It will never stay the way it is at the moment when you think you're happy. So everything externally is fleeting, it's temporary. But there is a way to be happy, and that is to tune into that which really matters, to know that part of who we are is joy. That is one of the divine qualities: joy, life, love, peace, power, beauty. Joy. That is one of the qualities that is innate. And there's a way to tune into that. And what makes us happy, truly, inwardly, and which expresses outwardly, it's knowing that there is a power and a presence that is always there, that we are one with, and that provides us with everything we need for a happy, contented, joy-filled, creative, prosperous life. Many books have been written about happiness, and one of them was written by the Dalai Lama, about the power and the quality of happiness. One of my favorite books is What Happy People Know. And in that book, it states one of the real reasons for happiness, if you really get it, is appreciation. Think about that. Appreciation. The word appreciation has really three meanings. One of them is, I appreciate your help. It's kind of a gratitude. I thank you for that. That's one of the reasons. Appreciation means also increase in value. Something appreciates. So we recognize when we have appreciation, it increases in value. And another meaning is, I recognize. It is the recognition of value, quality, magnificence, and magnitude. If I appreciate something, that means I appreciate the value of it. I appreciate the significance of it. I appreciate the magnitude and magnificence of it. So when we really practice and embody the idea, the quality of appreciation, we are happy. Because we cannot simultaneously appreciate something and have the experience of that. It's impossible. When we open ourselves up to appreciation, we're connected, we're tuned in, we're one with. And we cannot simultaneously experience anything other than value, quality, presence, good. So that's where happiness comes from. To really be tuned in to that inner presence, that inner power, that quality of life that brings joy to our experience. And in truth, that's who we are. So in the midst of difficulty, let's remember, joy never goes away. It is only temporarily hidden when we take our attention away from it. So in the midst of difficulty, in the midst of lack, we need to be reminded, tune into joy, tune into that innate inner happiness, and you'll find it. It's right there to be our experience and to change everything around for us for the better. Let's say the affirmation at the bottom of our card. We discover and live from our true state of spiritual happiness. And that makes all the difference for good in our lives. And so it is.
Thank you. So let's right now just open our hearts to the presence of God. This is a time when we can just center ourselves in spirit. And let's dwell on the quote as we move into this. The quote by Abraham Lincoln. People are about as happy as they make up their mind to be. And so as we move into this, let's make up our minds to be happy. Open our hearts to the presence of God. Open our hearts to God's love. Open our hearts to the presence of God. To the presence of God in our hearts. Here we stand. We stand in and of and with the presence of the living Spirit. This presence moves in as through us. We are the individualized essence of the one Spirit. And there's one thing that we know, which is absolute truth, and that is God is. God is all there is, and God is good. And by good, we mean life-affirming. God wants us, the universe wants us to succeed, to be successful, and most of all, to be happy. But at the same time, we're given free will. We get to choose. We get to decide, regardless of what is going on in the world. We decide what it means for us to be happy. And so let's make that affirmation, that statement now as we move through today and through this week, that I make up my mind to be happy regardless of whatever is happening in the world. I am a happy and joy-filled person. And would you say with me then? And so it is. And now let's welcome Sherry Jameson, who is going to sing a song on how it is, how can you be happy? Is it
Happiness.
happiness? Good.
Happiness is finding a pencil, pizza with sausage, telling the time. Happiness is learning to whistle, tying your shoe for the very first time. Happiness is playing the drum in your own school band, and happiness is walking hand in hand. Happiness is 2 kinds of ice cream, knowing the secret, climbing a tree. Happiness is 5 different crayons, catching a firefly, setting him free. Happiness is being alone every now and then, and happiness is coming home again. Happiness is morning and evening, daytime and nighttime too. For happiness is anyone and anything at all that's loved by you. Happiness is having a sister, sharing a sandwich, getting along. Happiness is singing together when day is through, and happiness is those who sing with you. Happiness is morning and evening, daytime and nighttime too. For happiness is anyone and anything at all that's loved Good man, Charlie Brown.
That was absolutely fabulous. And I like that last sentence. Happiness is anything that is loved by you. So what you love, do it. Do what you love, and you're guaranteed to be happy. So I want to start today with 3 quotes. One comes from Shakespeare, one comes from Abraham Lincoln, which we already gave, and one comes from Ernest Holmes. So the first one comes from the play Macbeth. Now, many of you probably don't know the play, but Macbeth has suffered greatly because of the deeds that he has done. And it's right at the end of the play, he is beginning to face up to all of the trials and tribulations that have happened to him. And he says, and I'll say it in Shakespeare language first, "Canst thou not minister a mind diseased, pluck from the memory a rooted sorrow, raise out the written troubles of the brain, and with some sweet oblivious anecdote cleanse the stuffed bosom of the perilous stuff which weighs upon the heart?" And the doctor speaks to him and says, "Therein the patient must minister to himself. See, Macbeth is saying in ordinary English, "Doctor, can you help me with my diseased mind? It's driving me nuts. Can you pluck from my memory my rooted sorrows? Can you raise out those troubles that are written on my brain?" We would say modernly, written in the subconscious mind, that keep bringing themselves up and causing them all this problem. Don't you have some kind of medicine to cleanse these perilous things that weigh upon my heart every day? And the doctor says, in these things you have to cure yourself. You have to minister yourself. And Abraham Lincoln said people are as happy as they make up their mind to be. Well, it's a very simple way. But listen to what Ernest Holmes, he may have read Macbeth. Holmes says, "I believe in a religion of happiness and joy." He says, "There's too much depression and sorrow in this world. These things were never meant to be, and they don't have any place in the world of reality. Life is meant to be lived. And the person who is the most flexible, the most non-resistant to this life, not only gets along the best, but that's the person who's happy. We were not sent into this world to be defeated or sick or unhappy. We are ordained for happiness, health, and prosperity. The whole scheme of the universe is that a benevolent conspiracy." I love that word, a benevolent conspiracy to grant us the very best. But we have to get straight with one thing, and that's ourselves. Because you see, no one, he says, can rob us of our happiness but ourselves. No one can achieve happiness for us but ourselves. And if we will grant this fundamental premise, then we can go and make life what we desire. And he says, since there are no pills we can take that will produce happiness, since there's no medicine that will give us this peace of mind, and since there is no physical manipulation that can give us this faith, we must look for a different kind of medicine. We must look in the only place that it can be found, and that's within ourselves. We are the physicians. We must heal ourselves. Now, in Macbeth's play, if you study Shakespeare and study Macbeth, there was a prophecy that said that Macbeth would be the king of Scotland. It was like a destiny that he was supposed to fulfill. So, what does he do? He calls Lady Macbeth and he says, "I'm going to be the king of Scotland." And she says, "Great, let's make it happen." And there was the mistake. The very first mistake that it was ever made. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to push it. I'm going to make it a reality. Rather than knowing your destiny and allowing it to flow. Who knows? King Duncan, who was murdered by Macbeth, by the way, in order to take the throne, King Duncan may have been right at the end of his rule, and he would have said, "You know, Macbeth, I've been thinking, you'd make a great king. Come and be the king." But see, Macbeth didn't see how he could become the king when there already was a king. But see, we have to know when we hear that voice of spirit speak to us about what we are to do and how we're to do it, we have to know that the ways and means are always being provided by the law. We always say this, remember that you are on the planning committee, but you're not on the ways and means. And that's what gets us all screwed up. If we're on the planning committee, we state and we know what it is that we're supposed to do, and we step into it without knowing all of the details. And when you step into what you know is the truth for you, the universe will conspire. Remember, Holmes said, a benevolent conspiracy. The universe will conspire to unfold the things that need to happen. But no, Macbeth and his wife, they had it figured out. They had to kill the king. And then they had to commit there are a bunch of murders in Macbeth, by the way, which we don't need to go into all of those things. But the bottom line is, Macbeth is at the end of his life, and he's tormented by all of this because he tried to make things happen rather than allow those things to happen. So, there are 6 ways in which we can believe and live in happiness. And the first way is to learn how to creatively respond to life with enthusiasm and choice. In the Bible, you might remember that right after the baptism, Jesus goes out into the desert, and it says that the devil came to tempt him. Well, who's the devil? The devil is all of those negative subconscious core beliefs that tell us all of those things. You have the power. You can do this. You're the one. All of these things, all of the traps of the ego come. And finally, Jesus, of course, says, he gets clear in his mind, and he knows, I'm going to creatively respond. And he says, get thee behind me, Satan. Now, I don't know how it is with your life, but I know in my own life, my subconscious mind is rich in negativity. It's still... Now, you should say, oh, you've been a minister. Do you know, I've got to tell you this. We looked the other day at a calendar, and on August 6, 2014, this will be 30 years in ministry. So this year will be our 30th year. And you think about it and say, 30 years? And you're still where you are in consciousness? But the point is, I wonder where I'd be without science in mind. The thing is, you keep on keeping on because it is a very rich and very powerful teaching. But I still have these things that come out of the subconscious mind. And they're always coming up. And the thing is just continually remind yourself of the truth. That you have the ability to creatively respond to life. No matter what is going on, if you learn to give of yourself and your love, and if you learn to just trust every people, and if you don't try to push and try to make things happen, and you allow things to unfold, they're going to unfold perfectly. Why? Because the universe is built that way. So when you try to create your own things, your own desires, you're always going to end up creating blocks to this creative process. So the first way is to creatively respond. So there are two traps that happen. There's the stuff that happens in the world. Oh, I wish that hadn't happened. I wish she hadn't said that. I wish they hadn't done that. Whatever. There's the trap. And then the question is, once something occurs in the world, we ask ourselves this question: how can I lovingly and creatively respond to this particular event? That's the first trap. The second trap is the traps that occur in our own mind that I just talked about. Influences in our minds. How can we overcome these negative subconscious beliefs, this negative self-talk that tells us about these things? I watch it over and over again. There a couple of days ago in the 40 Days of Gratitude, there was a thing on worthiness. And a lot of people they'll make a mistake about something and then they'll dwell on the mistake. Does anybody ever do that? You dwell on the error that you made rather than all of the successes that you did. You see what you didn't do rather than what you did do. Applaud yourself. See yourself in your spiritual magnificence. Know that if you make mistakes, first of all, Spirit doesn't see them. The universe doesn't see them. Only you're the one who's dwelling and giving the negativity to them. Let them go. Ask for forgiveness. Say, I apologize. That's a great word to say. Just say, I apologize. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. And then go on from there. Because you and I do have this creative ability to have positive enthusiasm in our life. The second idea is to recognize the unity, the wholeness, and oneness with yourself and with everybody else. There cannot be success or happiness without wholeness. There cannot be wholeness where there is separation. So I'm asking you, and I always ask myself the same question. I need to ask this question for myself too. Have I thrown somebody out of my heart? If that's true, then whose heart is it that's fragmented? It's my heart. I have created a separation with my mind by throwing somebody. I don't invite people back into my heart for them. I invite them back into my heart for my wholeness. Because if I separate somebody else from my life, then what I'm doing is separating myself. And there's a poem that goes, they drew a circle to keep us out, a wall to protect, a thing to flout, but we had the plan to win, and we drew a bigger circle to bring them in. So, you know, the holidays are coming up, and maybe you'll be traveling to relatives. And always the thing about holidays that are very interesting, if you haven't seen your relatives for a while, remember, they will see you as they knew you. Even if it's a mother or a grandmother, they will see you as they knew you, not as you are. Most of the time, they don't recognize all of the growth that you've gone through and all of the things. And so they will be using words to bring you back to that comfort zone that they knew you in. So when we hear all of those things, they're drawing their circle, which is a way of seeing you in a limited way, in a more limited way. Our job is to draw the circle bigger and to see more inclusiveness and more oneness. And those are the challenges that take place, where you could easily get back into that old argument that you had when you were in the 6th grade with your mom. But if you transcend that and you can just see total love and the total oneness and the bringing things together, you can really have a fantastic holiday season. So bring people into a greater and greater circle. The third thing is to develop a positive attitude in everything that you do. And that's why we do 40 Days of Gratitude. I love Ralph Waldo Emerson's statement. He says, for every minute you are angry, you lose 60 seconds of happiness. For every minute you're angry, you lose 60 seconds of happiness. And Gabron said it a little different way. He says, we choose our joys and sorrows long before we experience them. Isn't that interesting? So what it is in our mind, if we have a happy disposition, if we have an inclusive disposition, if we see and respect all people, if we're open and receptive to everyone, that's what we get back. And remember, when there is negativity coming at you, it is because you put negativity out there. And I see it. I see it so clearly. And sometimes it happens to me. And the thing is, that never happens to Gisela. Never. There's nobody negative to her, but sometimes there are people negative to me. Why? Because they're just negative people that don't like me? No. It's because there's an edge in the negativity that's pushed out, and you're going to get it back. You're going to get back what you put out. And so, I'm sorry, I should have probably listened to you for the last 47 minutes. Never too late. Never too late. So, that's the third thing, positive attitude. The fourth thing is balance and flexibility. You know, trees are meant to bend in the wind so they won't break. We're meant to flow and be flexible. And there is a story, of course, you remember the story of Icarus and Daedalus. They're on the island of Crete, and Daedalus had to build this labyrinth, and they're trapped in this labyrinth. So they create these wings to fly away. And here's what Daedalus said to his son. I charge you to keep a moderate height. For if you fly too low, the damp will clog your wings, and if you fly too high, the heat will melt them. Keep near me, and you will be safe. So, here's the image of the Father. Keep near me, the Father, and you will be safe. Don't get so caught up in it that you're going to fly too high or fly too low. So, what does Icarus do? All goes well until Icarus, overcome by delight and defiance, both he had the delight of wanting to go higher, and he had the defiance of his father. You know, I can do it myself. He flew higher towards the sun, and of course his wings melted, and he fell into the sea, and he drowned. And his last words before he went under was, "You were right, Dad." And it's a teaching we all know about. It's a teaching of moderation. It's a teaching of being flexible. It's a teaching of, okay, somebody is saying something or doing something that maybe you want to correct or maybe you want to get in, but listen to your inner wisdom. Maybe it's not the right time. Maybe it's the time now to listen. And I love the word listen. You can look it up. Listen means to wait in suspense. To wait in suspense. We had a lady in our center, and as we're going through more years, we reflect back. Her name is Marge McQuiston. Marge took all the classes from us. You remember Nancy? Remember Marge? Yeah. Marge took all the classes from us, and Marge would raise her hand in class. I go, "Okay, Marge." And she would start off on something and you'd go, oh my God, what is this lady talking about? And she would go on and on and on, and you'd go, what is going on here? And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, came this tremendous spiritual insight. And so we learned that we have to get through all of the stuff, the March stuff, before we got to the actual spiritual insight. The lady was brilliant, but it just took her time to warm up to get to it. So when you're listening to somebody, there's a tendency sometimes, oh, I've heard this before. Oh, they're going to say the same thing over again. You know, here we go again. Yeah. But if you actually sit back and you actually listen, all of a sudden, they pick up the energy that you're waiting in suspense for what they have to say, and all of a sudden, the wisdom will come out. Remember, every single person in this world is either our lover or our teacher. And so we have that ability to listen, and we're going to get these tremendous gems from these kinds of people. And the fifth idea is to live in the present moment, right now, right here. There are two stories, one's from the Bible and one's from Greek mythology. The one from the Bible, of course, is where Lot and his wife have escaped Sodom and Gomorrah, and they have been told by the angels, don't look back. Remember that? And so Lot's wife looks back, and she turns into a pillar of salt because she looks back. The same story is in Orpheus and Eurydice in Greek mythology. Remember, Eurydice is killed and is taken down into the underworld, and Orpheus loves her so much. It's a beautiful, wonderful story that love can transcend anything, even death. Because Orpheus loves her so much that he is given permission to go back into the underworld to get her and bring her back out with her love. The modern film that was done a few years ago, people didn't get the whole film, but it was called What Dreams May Come with Robin Williams. It was the same kind of idea that you can go in and love will conquer anything. But Orpheus was told, he said, don't look back. She'll follow you as long as you don't look backward. And he did, and of course she was lost forever. And Ernest Holmes knew this. There was one thing about Ernest Holmes that everyone commented on. When he came to meet you, he would be present with you. He would enjoy everything with you. He would talk with you. But when he said goodbye, he would turn around and he would walk away, and he would never turn around and look back. He would never do a second goodbye. He'd do one, and then he would leave. This was especially true, people said, when they took him to the airport. And in the old days, of course, they didn't have all the security and stuff like that, and you could actually go out near the plane and you could wave. And Ernest Holmes would wave one time, get in a plane, and that would be it. He never looked back. And he said that about his life because people asked him, are you ever going to come back? And he said, you know what? If people say that they saw me, or I came back, or I spoke to them, slam the door in their face. He says, because I am not coming back. I'm not coming back to this life. I'm not coming back to this earth. I'm going on. I'm going forward. And he said, that's why he didn't believe in reincarnation. He said, I'm always going forward. Somebody came to Ernest one time and said, we want to do a spiritual retreat. And Ernest said, I will not do a spiritual retreat, but I will do a spiritual advance. Because that's how he saw life. It was always moving forward, always in the present moment, never looking back. And the last thing is the gift's already been given to us. It's already been given to us. Some people think that God is waiting to answer our prayers, but Quimby says this, the father of the New Thought movement, says, God doesn't act on our prayers. He's finished with his work. And excuse the masculine, but that's how he said it at the time. And he leaves humanity to work out its happiness according to its own wisdom. What Quimby said is that each and every one of us have an inner wisdom within us. And we can commune with that wisdom, and we can listen. And when we listen, that wisdom absolutely tells us the truth. We have already been given the gift. All the wisdom is there. And the Creator is simply saying, what are we going to do with it? So, when we were born, we cried, and the world rejoiced. The challenge is that we are to live our lives so that when we die, the world cries, and we rejoice. And if we do that, all is good, right here and in the hereafter. And that's the truth. So it's.
I trust that as we apply these